Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quest, a journey into true crime and the paranormal. And my name is Misty Gaither, and I'm your host. I am so excited to be talking to the one and the only Duane Cerny, the author of Selling Dead People's Things. And when I saw that title, I was like, Duane is the guy for me. It's like we're on the same wavelength. And so how you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Misty.
Up there, you're in Chicago, and
I am.
yeah. For those of you who do not know, Duane, he is the co-owner of the Broadway Antique Market in Chicago, and I know like we've seen shows like the Antiques Roadshow. You know, there's even a paranormal show. It's called The Haunted Collector, where they would go and find the items with John Zaffis. And now we have Duane Cerny. You know, do you go to estate sales, or do people just bring them and like, hey, Duane, I don't know what to do with this doll that spins around spitting up, pea soup. I don't know what to do. How do you get all these items?
Well, first off, I'm going to say this is not as common as some people think, because I've been doing this for some 35 years and have had about half a dozen, certainly paranormal experiences. So, sometimes people pick up the book and think like, well, my whole life is just spooks. And,
like every day.
every day,
Right.
every day. It's another poltergeist in my shorts. No, it's not. But having done this for so long, things come up in very understandably peculiar ways. And we just kind of like do like a little brief overview here. I've had an issue where someone brought me something and they wanted to get rid of it quick, and that's always a sign.
First thing.
With that, been a couple of those. And others have been more along the lines of, well, I'm obviously I'm an antique dealer, so I'm processing estates. Those estates can be people's homes, obviously, but sometimes they're businesses. One was the Edgewater Hospital here in Chicago, which closed in, I think, 1991. And I was there a couple years after that. And then it was abandoned for 17 years. So it's kind of like people, places, and things.
Right, yeah.
Down. So kind of like, first I like to state that. And so, as far as the book Selling Dead People's Things, it really wasn't my intention of writing a paranormal book. My intention was to write a memoir of a 21st century, now I can say that, antique dealer. And I didn't know if anybody would really be interested in that. But then I started, whenever I would go to an estate or something, well, I'd come out with a good story, let's put it that way. I had my little notebook, and I would jot that down. 40 some stories. I started, just vetting them, going, well, what are the strongest? What would people would want to read? So there's a number of paranormal stories in the book, but the entire book is not paranormal. The cover scares people.
Yeah, that cover is,
Yeah, and we toned that down.
Spooky,
let me tell you.
looky, yeah.
And that was from, it's Love the Vintage World. That was from a woman who sells on Etsy, Beat Up Creations. That was on a set of dinnerware.
Okay.
So you can imagine like eating your soup.
Right, and it's, there's that demon-possessed woman again.
Although a number of people have told me it reminds them of American Gothic, and I wasn't even thinking about that.
With a twist.
With a twist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though a lot of the stories, even though some not all the stories are paranormal, they are pretty strange. I do have to say that, because people are interesting.
Well, definitely. And everything, like what I'm finding, because I do, paranormal investigations and stuff, and I do find that not everything's paranormal. Like you said, strange or peculiar or odd. And I like that too, so we're all good. Your book, didn't it go to number one on some lists?
Been the number one antique and collectible book on Amazon 3 times.
How about that?
I've got a second book out called Vintage Confidential, which is similar but different, because I don't like repeating myself.
I like the way that the story that you told about how that even when you were little, let's just say around 9, 10, something like that, that you started developing a love of kind of a side hustle or something about like making money and, the story about how your dad gave you a folder of like nude pics, like a whole big folder, and he was hoping that you would look at these pics and that you would not be of the homosexual persuasion. And so you took those nudies pictures And you sold them to your friends and made like what, $500?
Yeah. And then like the bullies stopped beating me up.
Yeah, they're like, he's
Made me
cool.
popular.
Right.
So, oh, that's how we deal with the straight boys. Yeah, that's rough and tough about it. My dad had actually brought them home from work,
Hmm.
and he was a photo engraver, and now that's all done on computers. And he worked for a company which basically did all the production work for Playboy. They weren't Playboy; it's where Playboy would have things
Okay. Oh, there you
printed
go.
essentially. And my dad was a wonderfully shy and gentle man, but he would be very proud of what the things he would do, things he did for a living. And so, yeah, he brought home these images of young women, and I think I say in the book, I couldn't tell the difference between January 1971 and March 1971, except one had larger breasts and you could put your tchotchkes on them. There's no distinction in my mind of the difference. And my mother made him throw them out, and so then I actually dug them out of the
Yes,
garbage.
that was it. Yeah, you
Yeah,
like,
stuck out, and I'm like going, oh. But I kind of knew I was onto something. Yeah, I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur, and I did that for about a year until I just couldn't stand it anymore.
like back then you kind of discovered the art, I should say, of the collecting, and you started collecting and doing your own thing, and then you told the story about the guy spending $70,000 on some comic books that he used to have and cashed in his 401k, and now he has the comics, but he don't have a 401k. So you talk about the balance of collecting but being wise about it too.
But what's also kind of cool is that everything has changed
Right.
in that even when I got into this, young people that nobody was talking about recycling or green or your carbon footprint. Those expressions didn't even exist. And now young people are, so targeted to that in recognizing that it's really the vintage business is the greenest business you can be in. So it's the ultimate recycling of things. And I know you had asked me prior, and because I've been thinking about this, and I thought that was a really good question. Was what happens when you acquire something that is giving you issues,
Right.
problems, right?
Hmm.
I'd be curious what some of the other responses have been.
I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do if you're talking about if you have a haunted item, like what you can do to kind of not so haunted item, or is that what you're talking about? Or
Yeah, yeah,
okay, I mean, I would douse it, like it just depends, I guess, on what you're dealing with. But I mean, prayers, holy water, sage, fire,
not a fan of destroying anything that
right?
has that
So you would just
because
have to kind of pick whatever that it is, and like I think what you would use to kind of de-haunt or depossess a thing would be based on what we're dealing with. Like you would do a doll different maybe than you would do a like a desk or you know what like you
right
would use different techniques.
in the book, the person who brought me this desk, and I think to your point, when something's like a larger thing, well, what are you going to do with that? It was so bizarre because I ended up, and it was this arts and crafts desk, and it was a partner's desk. Familiar with that is? So where business partners that could sit on either side
Hmm. Yeah.
of a desk, but you have drawers that you could slide something through to the other person,
Oh,
which was
okay.
kind of cool, right? It was a smaller one. That's why I liked it. It was arts and crafts, meaning mission, and we sold it a couple times. Point being, it kept coming back. and generally I wouldn't let like all sales are final.
I was going to say,
um
do you have not, you don't have a strict refund or
oh yeah, we
exchange
do,
thing?
we absolutely do,
Yeah,
absolutely do, but not with this.
got you.
Because yeah, because we'd had our own problems with it. My employees had problems with it, and so I knew there was something up with this desk once or twice. But the third time, the woman called, this lovely woman, and she wanted to know more about the desk. And what am I going to tell her? Well, every time I sell it, it comes back. I mean, that's not a good thing to say.
No, that's not. No, that's
That's
not
why sales are not
endearing. Right.
right. So I had to tell her, what in fact I did know about it, but it kind of squares the issue of they basically found a way to live with it.
Okay.
And I think that that attitude is another way to deal with it. You know, as we know, you don't want to necessarily give it power, which is or whatever it is, because not everything's malevolent
Right.
or evil. There's absolutely there's good energy. There's
Sure.
absolutely
Sure.
I think there's more good energy than bad. I'd like to think that way anyway. So you know, if you're going to so it's kind of feeding that, and they really found a way to because they did not they just loved it. They've been looking for a desk like that for years. The woman had her grandmother had one like that, and so a lot of people do that. They buy back parts of their childhood or things that they
Right.
remember that family members had and they didn't get a chance to get. So it's like, oh, I want one like that. So this woman had put a lot of effort into trying to find a desk just like that. So she didn't want to give it up. But it was funny because you know she's calling saying, okay, you know, I'm calling about this, but I'm not bringing it back. It's an odd position for her to be in because if you know anybody else is returning an item, you're not saying, well, I want to talk about this, but I'm not bringing it back. Well, you know, like what is there to talk about?
Right. Right.
Well, I could tell her was what I know, and I will tell you what I know. This desk it was in the lower level of our first store, and this is a concrete basement. There are no windows. It's all fluorescent lighting. It's just a showroom of furniture. It's a basement of an antique store. And I had two gentlemen working for me at the time, and they did not get along. And I think this is an important point. And it's like, oh, we get to work together on a Saturday afternoon. Great, you know. And I said, just take care of it. Just sell stuff,
Right.
right? And mid-afternoon, they both come running up the stairs like their pants were on fire, and they pretty much were. And they both insisted that the drawers of the desk would open, and these like just call it said like orbs of light, balls of light would come out and then bounce all around the room. And it was a big room. It was like 5,000 square feet, something like that.
Wow.
It's a very big room. And they said it was like it's like they were looking for a place to go, but there wasn't any place to go. The orbs, that is.
Right.
And that was it for them. The one guy like never came back. The fact that they didn't get along and they tell me the same story was like, yep, that's what's going on with this desk.
Yeah.
And that is why people it would either be that they actually saw the orbs. When the last woman who bought it was the drawers would just open. She'd find them open or she'd open it and then they would close.
Hmm.
And it was always, she didn't see it happening, but why is it? She'd blame her husband. Did you leave why are all why are all the drawers open on this one side? I didn't do that. I've always felt that it was a positive energy. It didn't mean to, I don't think it meant to harm anybody. So it would be as nice to it as possible.
Hmm.
And again, and then it did not come back. I felt like I had, that was a tough sale.
You had solved the mystery. Yeah.
So, you know, that's one of those. It's that not everything's just so cut and dry or just simple. You know, this isn't seeing a face in a mirror. There was a lot of components to that.
Buy the
And
book.
yeah, pick up the books. There's also an audiobook audio version if
Now,
you
where
like.
would we get the book through Amazon, or do you have like a website, or where can they
Uh,
order your book?
Buy it on Amazon. You can order it through your local independent bookstore. We always like to support small businesses. You can get it on the book's website, which is sellingdeadpeoplesthings.com. And you can also get it on, I have an Etsy site now, Dead People's Shop.
Now,
So,
a lot of people don't realize the things that you go through being a collector, because I was reading like hoarding, like you would go into people's houses that were hoarders,
oh yeah.
because usually under all that dirt is something. It's like something that you want. A collectible is somewhere in there, and all the filth and the funk and the ugh, cat feces and is under there. And but you would have to suit up, or like just go in and just delve in that to find an idol.
Yeah. There've been a couple where, I mean, it's like hazmat suit
Oh
type,
wow.
type things. And then you're like hoping you're going to find something.
Yeah.
And and those would be because you'd be like, well, this is like a really nice house in a really nice area, so there were probably really nice things here.
Hmm.
Um, and I know the one was it was an older lady, and she was she brought in a homeless guy, and then he brought in his friend, and then somebody else,
Oh
and
Lord.
then they were breeding pit bulls in the basement, and then the whole place just, didn't get much out of that. But that was one. That was a lot of bad energy just from that backstory alone. Again, a lot of times I'm always looking for either like who's conducting the sale, who's doing the literal clean out, the realtor. Realtors are good. Doormen are always big gossips.
Oh
Doormen in every building,
no,
they
they
know
know
everything.
everything. Yes.
They know nothing's getting past them, right? So that's often a good resource, and also a tip for anybody who's in that situation. Go to in some big building, always check with the old timer doorman, because he knows where the bodies are buried.
The doormen and bartenders are both rich
Oh
in
yeah, oh sure.
info and gossip and innuendo and everything. So if you're looking at like doing research or whatever, start with those two
Start with those guys, yeah.
occupations. Yeah, you'll be fine. Now, I notice that not only do you, collect all different kind of things, and you have the antique market, but you're a writer, a comedian, a writer,
A humorist
a
occasionally.
humorist. Okay, got you. So, I mean, like you wrote the cupcake overdose about living across the street from the Magnolia Bakery, and that was made famous in part also by Sex in the City and in
Yeah.
SNL. And then you would say you would look across the street and everybody would be just like lined up for miles to get into for this.
Oh, they lined up for a block.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody had once said that it was the second most visited tourist spot from World Trade.
Oh wow.
And you're going, it's cupcakes, and they're all right. But yeah, there was a lot of odd experiences just living across from that. And well, now actually have what I've been doing about a year now. I have a column in a newspaper called The Village View. So yeah, I've got a column called "It's All My Fault." So that's the name of the column. And so and I've written all types of things. Yeah, the cupcake overdose, and not necessarily things about the Village or New York, but just I'll give you one quickly, because I think I just was one. Things just happening, and you're gonna pull your head off.
Yeah.
So I need postage stamps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I need stamps. And I went to this waiting in line, and get up the counter. I thought, I need stamps, and the guy says, "Well, we don't have these stamps.
Wow.
You're the
Okay.
post office. You're
Right.
the post office."
Oh yeah.
He goes, "Yeah," but then he goes in this long story. Well, the manager forgot to go and get them, because usually they'd be locked up. It's that their stamps are like gold. And I said, "Well, it's kind of funny." And he goes, "Well, what's funny about it?" And I said, "Well, it's like McDonald's running out of hamburgers,
Or ice cream.
and,
Yes.
right?" And yeah, and he says, "Well, I don't get it." Well, you don't get it.
Oh wow.
Okay. Next on my errand, so I'm not getting stamps. So I go to I needed staples.
Mm-hmm.
I have staplers. I collect staplers. I needed staples. You can see where this is going.
I'm with you. I'm following you.
Oh, so I go to Staples, and I love these. This was right about post pandemic, whatever. And then stores had rearranged everything just to screw with you. Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah, I remember.
So up and down the aisles, I cannot find Staples. So there's this kid there. I've got, my shoes are older than he is, and and I says, "I'm looking for Staples," and he says, "Well, we don't have it." And I says, "Wait a minute. The name of this store is Staples. There's a giant sign
Right.
on the parking
Staples.
lot.
Right.
It says Staples, but you don't have any Staples." He goes, "No. We ran out of them last week, and we haven't gotten in a new batch." And I said, "Well, don't you think it's kind of ironic that you run out of Staples?" And he goes, "Well, why would that be?" And I said, "It's like McDonald's running out of hamburgers."
Not again.
And he says to me, "Well, you could always order a chicken sandwich."
There you go.
Right? And I'm going like, "But I want Staples." And I'm going to guess that you don't sell stamps. So
Right.
it's one of those, and we all have these experiences.
Sure.
Because all you have to do is just go home. There's nothing left to do, because all your errands are not going to be accomplished. So.
Well, we had the toilet paper shortage, and I did not know there was a Staples shortage also. See, I've learned two things. I just thought, stamps.com or whatever, and that, of course, I didn't think that the post office would run out of stamps, like Staples out of Staples.
It's a brave new world.
So now you've learned kind of stock up more on staples, or you just leaving it to fate?
The irony is how many times I'm in estates, so many estates, and I'm always in someone's home office and there's staples, and I never think of like picking them up there. And now I do that.
Okay,
So
well,
that
good. I'm glad you
all
got a
my office.
plan. So I noticed, and I will admit, I didn't get to see the video, but I did notice. So I was like, you know what? I didn't have time to watch it, but I was just going to ask you about unboxing the Titanic.
Yeah, so the Titanic. So there was a game
Mm-hmm.
years ago of the Titanic, and so that's really what that is. I had it as a kid. Talk about
Mm-hmm.
looking for your childhood. I made the mistake. I do these things. Yeah, I was invited to local television morning show, and they said, "Oh, bring some stuff. Just bring some stuff to talk about." So of course I've got to bring the Titanic game,
Sure.
which is a little dark, for 8:30 in the morning for Chicago audiences. It's basically showing the hosts how to play the Titanic game, and you're rolling the dice, and I guess you're supposed to find supplies for your boat, but you're also trying to save your life. Again, it's
A little dark, yeah.
that's a weird idea for a kids game, but
Yeah. Well, I knew that you wouldn't unboxing the actual ship, but I did see the title and I was like, oh, okay, that looks really interesting, about that. So what would you say is your most cherished collectible that you have?
oh, that's really difficult.
Top five, top five.
Top five. Well, okay, I like sideshow memorabilia,
Oh my God,
and
you have sideshow memorabilia?
that was like to collect it. I haven't found much lately.
Now,
Uh,
is there a specific, I'm sorry to get off on this, but is there a
oh,
specific, like, entertainer or elephant or whatever? Like, is there, like, something
well, okay.
specific?
When you mentioned, I'm going to say the elephant. Well, the Elephant Man. There was
Yeah,
absolutely souvenirs and memorabilia from when he exhibited himself or when other people exhibited stuff.
right.
There's actually a stereo opticon set with stereo views,
Hmm.
and I missed out on one of those.
Wow.
I mean, there's also one for that was 12, and there's one set it's a 24 set stereo views of Tom Thumb's wedding,
Okay.
uh,
Lavinia
which
Warden.
great. Thank you. You're good. You were
Thank you.
good, and it's just fantastic. I mean, just the six horses pulling the carriage and the whole pageantry of it. It's that the Library of Congress has that set as one of those sets. Those are things
Nice.
you just don't see. Um, Personally, I like JoJo the Dog-Faced Boy.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Oh, that, and I've
Hmm.
got a ticket stub
Do you to JoJo?
to JoJo. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. It's shaped like a very small artist pellet,
Hmm.
and like flowers on one side. But then the others is JoJo the Dog-Faced Boy, and it's Admit One. And I like Franco Lentini. I'm gonna test you now.
Okay.
Do you know who Franco Lentini is?
Now, I'm okay. It's two things I'm thinking. It's either what they call they call them the pinheads, or was it the alligator, or am I totally like off?
No, Frank.
Ah,
So Franco,
man,
Franco
I
Lentini.
got wrong.
You were really you've been hot though. You've been hot.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Franco Lentini was
Oh wait, Franco Lentini, the legs.
there you go.
Three-legged man. Boom.
Boom, boom.
For some reason, I thought you were saying like it was
Oh,
like two different, and but no, the guy with the three legs and the parasitic twin, and yeah,
yeah.
that's
Well,
yeah,
yeah. His leg was I guess his leg would have been the parasitic twin. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the story
Okay.
in in how you'd be driving down the road and there's a sign that says barn sale.
Yeah,
You've all
yeah, yeah.
those, right? And so this is in Wisconsin, and you pull off and there's a barn and there's nobody in the barn, and there's just this little little house next to it. And so I'll just go in digging through a crate, and it was all these frames, but they were just wooden frames, and people buy wooden frames so they can frame things. But it really wasn't what I was looking for. But in there was a cabinet card of Franco Lentini as a boy,
Oh.
12, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this great little suit on, and I mean, he was famous from well, from childhood. That was pretty rare. So I take that, and then I grabbed a couple of the frames, even though I didn't want it, because again, tip to anybody who's out there: if when you want to buy you really want to get something, grab something else. Make a package, even if then you're going to give it away or throw it away, but just make a little package. So if I buy these 3 things, So
Right.
anyway, go up to the farmhouse. The woman opens the door, and I said, "Oh, I'd like to buy these," and of course, she grabs the photo. Here we go.
Right. She knows.
Right, and she goes, "What a handsome young man." And she says, how about $10? So great. Um,
Yes.
Now Franco Lentini would go on to not only exhibit himself, but he had his own sideshow, and he had
Okay.
his own circus, and he had 2 penises.
I heard that. And
So
he had
well,
like how many,
he
like a
was
whole
good with
18
that.
kids or something? Had like a
He
lot
was
of kids.
he was very popular.
Very fertile. Yeah.
Always making fun of him with those 3 legs. Um,
Somebody liked him, I swear.
Somebody says, no, yeah. I don't have anything from the Elephant Man. I do have a number of JoJo, mostly cabinet cards.
Hmm.
I had a friend, Roth, who's no longer with us, and he was one of the largest collector of Little People. And as a matter of fact, he wrote a book called Little People. And he would go to their conventions, and he was not a little person, but he was short, as am I. And they just worshipped him because I'm going to say he was like put them on the map politically,
Hmm.
in that just that they should get the respect they should have. They're normal people like anybody else.
Right, right.
So I ended up acquiring quite a few things from his estate. Not that I collected, but you're kind of, I would say, sometimes collecting things is like saving a kitten. If you find a kitten and you're going to be, well, I can't just leave this kitten.
Right.
Got to take it home, and before you know it, well, you got 4 kids.
Lots of
But
kittens. Yeah.
another story. But it's kind of saving objects and things so that that they can go on their way and be appreciated by someone else.
I did like what you said earlier was about how that collecting is like a real high form of being green.
Hmm.
Like if you think about it, that is the case because, and also you're preserving history and having it where it can be shared and admired by other people that like if they come, do you have these things that we're talking about on display or are they in a private place or?
Walls are covered in posters from well, I've got the Hilton sisters,
Daisy and Violet.
Daisy and
Yep.
Violet,
Yep.
San Antonio twins.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely live with these things, and then I have drawers. Actually have medical drawers because they're the right size for storing photography. But as far as even what I do, I love that because I have now. My gosh, I've been doing this for so long. I've got the grandkids of my original customers shoot me, coming in and buying things. But young people today, they get it. They didn't 15, 20 years ago. Absolutely not. So that is something new, and because it's why chop down another tree, and let's be honest. A lot of the I'll put it this way too. People say, well, how do you know something is old? And a very simple way, especially when it comes to many things, furniture, pottery, is the weight of it. You go to, let's just say, I don't know, IKEA,
Hmm.
pick up the end of a sofa. I mean, you can
Right.
do it with 2 fingers, right? And yet, a good mid-century modern sofa, through the 70s. And IKEA originally when they started out, they made great stuff.
Hmm.
So there is vintage IKEA that's desirable because it was made well. So now it's just a lot of sawdust and glue and whatever else they're shoving in there. I don't know, chicken parts.
Who
Um,
knows?
say, well, how do I know this is old? I'll say, try to pick it up. Just
Yeah.
pick it up,
Yeah.
right?
Like those
That's
old couches from the 70s that has the floral print, the ones I'm talking about, like kind of
that's,
that's heavy couches right there.
those are heavy
Yeah.
couches. Yeah, yeah.
Everybody had one.
Everybody had it, be in the den or in the basement or that, or at least, well, I mean, heck, they knock off Roseville pottery, and if you look at it, it looks really good. Pick it up.
Right,
It
pick
is.
it up.
It's it's styrofoam. It's not. It's not well made, and I mean that's just like a very basic rule of antiquing. I hate to say it this way, but as time goes on, things get crappier.
Sure. Yeah, because you hear about companies and they first start out and it's like, oh wow, the best product ever, and as time goes on, it gets kind of lack in that area. But let me as we're closing up or however you would like to term it, what would be something that you do not have but would be your ultimate dream collectible?
Anything in the world. Well, it goes back to things that I miss. It's the things that I've heard about, and then I go after it, and by the time I get there,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get it. It goes back to this. It might sound silly, but again, since I mentioned JoJo the Dog-Faced Boy, he had a pipe.
Oh.
Now, how cool is that? Because so much of this stuff tends to be ephemera, paper.
Mm-hmm.
But with an actual object like that, I just get, yeah, I was a day late and a dollar short to that one.
Now, didn't he wear kind of like an army or a tartan or something like that, a outfit that
Yes,
he would wear, and then like I could see him with his pipe. That would be
right.
so cool.
He was always presented very regally,
Mm-hmm.
as if he were royalty. The presentation of these people and what he did was wonderful. And the I was always remind people that the expression show business comes from the dime museums because it was the business of showing. So what we live with today is this, where it's gone, and now everybody's got a show.
Yeah. And that we do. And you know what? It was such an honor, Duane, to have you on the show. And I hope you'll join us again and we can go down the rabbit hole because I could really talk to you for hours about all the sideshow, stuff. And everybody, be sure to pick up the book, Selling Dead People's Things. It's really interesting and I know that you'll love it. You can go on Amazon or your local bookstore and get it. And Duane Cerny, everyone.
Thank you, Misty.
No problem. Y'all have a good night, everybody.